Well, Douglas, thanks for your time today, and thanks for inviting us into the inner sanctum as well, the weighing room here at Jeune. We're in the corner office. I'm guessing you had to work your way up to this point, did you? When you first arrived, they put you out near the front door somewhere?
I was actually, but the whole jockey room itself has changed. It used to be an upstairs and downstairs, and a lot different, but the facilities have really been upgraded. So yeah, I've been here a while and in the corner.
So 13 times champion jockey, no one's ridden more winners, no one's earned more prize money than you in that period. But take us back to the start. Was it a chance encounter that brought you here to Hong Kong, or was it a well laid out plan?
It wasn't a laid out plan at all. I went to Singapore for a few stints, a couple of weekends, and I was successful. And a reporter named Robin Park, he got hold of me and said you should come over and apply for Hong Kong. And at the time I didn't take him seriously. But one thing led to another, and I put in my application, and so and behold, 2 weeks later they said, there's a slot for you at the beginning of that particular season. And I came for 3 months.
And after that, I mean, it's always important to make a quick impression, and make a good impression, and have success. And it did come quite quickly after that 3 month stint. You then came back. London News, who was a big horse for you in the early part of your career, he was one of the big winners.
Yeah, I did well for the 3 months, and I went home and not planning to come back that quickly anyway. I had a good job back home, and yeah, I formed an association with London News, and I won pretty much everything in South Africa. And he got invited over for the QE2 Cup, and I came over with him. And the club, after winning that race, asked me to stay on for the remainder of the season. They were shorter jockeys, and the rest is history.
London News in front, Privilege won't give in, London News doing the better, and London News.
So was that the light bulb moment for you to a certain extent? You thought, this is the place for me, Hong Kong, this could be something special?
Yeah, definitely. You know, after winning the QE2 and after having success for those first 3 months and getting support from the likes of Ivan Allen and a lot of the Chinese guys, Wong Tang Ping, who was a big supporter of mine in the past, it wasn't really it was a no-brainer to say no, and grab the opportunity with both hands.
So London News was a big part of your career. Who are some of the other horses that have played a major part for you?
Well, there's a whole lot of them, but I would say when in the early days it was the likes of Indigenous, Oriental Express. You know, he was one of the best I'd ridden. So versatile, winning the sprint and then going on and winning the QE2. Ambitious Dragon. I mean, he's also one of the best I've ridden. The turn of foot that he's got, it just astounded me every time when he let down. So there's been some good memories. I mean, even Super Saturn, my first derby, and with Cass, and obviously Ranju, the owner, who's one of my best friends. So it's been a good journey.
With Super Saturn was your first derby winner. You didn't have to wait too long for the second one either. That came around quite quickly.
No, Fei followed up with that.
Fei and Sameworld, they fight it out, and Fei kicks. Fei gives John Size his first derby.
You had so many great years with John Size as well, so that must have been very special.
It was a huge learning opportunity, and the way John does things and how professional he is. And we had fantastic success together. You know, just from working them in the mornings to going to the races after 4, 5, 6 trials sometimes, and just seeing how they benefit from the workload and how they improve with each race. It was good times.
They were both, I think, quite well fancied for the derby itself, but Akid Mafid was odds on for the derby. He was going in there with a lot of pressure on top, but he was a pretty special horse as well.
He was. I mean, he's at stud now. He was just a bull. He was just so big. A gentle one, thank goodness, because if you had known he was that big, and he would have been a bit boisterous. But he was kind and really good horse on his day. Yeah, as you indicated, we went in as odds-on favourite, and there was pressure. Make no mistake, I think there's pressure on any jockey going into a big race like that, and things just fell into place. We got up in the nick of time, but. It was a win nonetheless.
It's Akid Mafid, Gold Fun endowing, but the odds-on favourite Akid Mafid will prevail in the derby. Akid Mafid.
Richard's first derby, and Mr. Pan's first big winner as well. You know, well, first derby, I should say, after investing in some nice horses.
Hard to single out, I suppose, a particular season, but your 10th championship, you had a couple of titanic tussles with Brett Preble over the years, but the 10th one, it all went down to that final day. You were couple of 16 behind, I think, with a few weeks to go. That final meeting when you win with 100 and Brett finished on 99, that must have been enormous.
It was. I mean, I think 2 months prior to that, I wouldn't say I didn't give myself any hope, but it looked like it might have been over. And probably that nature of mine, I wasn't going to just lay down and just let him have it. So just things fell into place. I think I rode a 5-timer and then a 4, and we were suddenly down to 2 and then level, and then I went 1 up. I think that was probably the most pressurized season, purely going to Happy Valley for the final meeting, knowing that this is the day, and he had good rides. But it was a victory nonetheless with 1 winner. But it was a good learning and turning point of my career where I had to fight and really throw everything, the kitchen sink really, to get back on top. So it was one of the best years.
As with all great champions in any walk of life, any sport that you look at, the reign eventually does come to an end, which it did. How did you deal with that, and was it, I don't know what the right word is, a relief? Was a weight lifted off you to a certain extent when you were finally beat?
I wouldn't say it was a weight lifted off me, but it was a pressure released that the expectations were probably that everybody was expecting all the time. I could at least take a breath. I mentally prepared myself for it. Everything's got a shelf life, and mine had a bloody long one. But it had to come. Hong Kong doesn't allow for you to dominate for that long, and I did. So everything's a handicapping system here, and it had to come, and I was prepared for it, and I'm pretty proud and blessed that I had an innings for as long as I did. The racing scene's changed a hell of a lot. It's when I came in '96, there were even still Class 6 races, and I don't think the caliber of horse was anywhere near what it is now. I mean, I did travel with Indigenous and Oriental Express in those days, but Ivan was a genius, and those were kind of the best of the best then. I reckon there's horses here now that would compete. Well, they do. They compete internationally, and they're competitive internationally. So the standard of horse from when I started until now has gone up dramatically. And I think the standard of jockey has improved. I think the whole of Hong Kong, its racing jurisdiction and the racing in particular, it's got more competitive. I think people from all over the world can see when there's a photo finish, there might be 6 or 7 horses going across the line, and there might be between 3/4 of a length separating them. So the handicapping system is very competitive, and I think that with the place itself, with what Hong Kong racing expects from their jockeys, I don't think there's any jockey that's riding in Hong Kong at the moment that wouldn't make it anywhere. They are physically, mentally, and homework-wise really prepared.
On Hong Kong racing as well, it's quite unique in the way it works. There's no agents, there's no jockeys, managers, so you're doing all that sort of work yourself. How do you, over the best part of 2 decades, remain loyal and keep your integrity with all of this when it's a merry-go-round almost sometimes?
It catches up. Like I say, everything has a shelf life. It all catches up, and you try and keep everybody happy, and but unfortunately, at the end of the day, you're trying to get the best possible rides and win as many races as you possibly can. So you're going to upset a lot of people along the way, and not that you intend to, but it does happen. And there's often races where 2 horses might get in the same race, and you've been working both of them, and you have to make a decision on which one to ride. So you've got to let somebody down, and it does catch up.
So if that's the past, the present, what's the future holds for Douglas Whyte? Still plenty to look forward to?
Still plenty to look forward to. I'm still very ambitious. I'm still very competitive. I love horses, so it'll always have something to do with horses. But at the moment, I'm still happy and healthy and fit. So we'll just keep chipping away.
Using Frankie Dettori, who's I think he might have a couple of years on you actually, Frankie, but he said he'll ride until he's 50. Do you set goals like that, or is it just a case your body will tell you when it's time to move on and do something else?
I think your body tells you, and I think when you lose that competitiveness and that edge and wittiness about you and that hunger, I think, you know, I don't think anybody can tell you but yourself, and I think if you're honest with yourself, you'll know when it is. I think by Frankie setting a goal at 50, I think that's fantastic, and I would probably love to do that, but unfortunately in a jurisdiction like Hong Kong, it doesn't allow you to set goals when on your terms, when you want to stop and when you want to do this. It's it'll be up to whether I get it relicensed or whether I want to continue. So we'll see what happens.
If we played a game of what if, whatever it is you do go on to do afterwards, who are the people, you mentioned Ivan Allen a little bit earlier on, the big influences in your career, the people that, you know, you've taken things from?
You know, Wong Tang Ping, I rode my first winner for him on a horse called Fireball, and it's just amazing how, you know, you can repay people that help you out through your career. And his last runner as a trainer, I rode that winner for him, and I got down to ride 115, and I got up and won a short head. So he gave me my first winner, and I gave him his last winner.
Northern Gold Ball's lifting, the crowd roar, it's for their money and their hearts. Ping's trying hard, but Ivan Allen's Gold Contest still in front. He's lifting now, Northern Gold Ball comes and wins. Ping, a dream goodbye.
During the interim of him training, he helped me out, but he also became a friend and a very good trainer. So the likes of him and of course Ivan Allen, my association with John Size, we had a great innings. David Hayes, he was a really good mate as well. They've all been there and they've all had an influence. But my innings with Tony Cruz, I rode for him for a year, was fantastic. So I've been on some really good horses and I've had some good associations with a lot of people. But I would say one of the wisest and astute and best horsemen would definitely be Ivan Allen.
And is there can you describe the feeling when you do ride a good horse in a big race and you win, whether it's a short head or 3 lengths pulling up? Can you describe that feeling? Can you put it into words?
It's very difficult to if someone hasn't ridden before, but it would be like putting your foot down on the throttle on a sports car, and it just kicks in, and you know, it sort of sucks you into the seat. And I'll never forget horses like Oriental Express, and especially one of the few was Ambitious Dragon.
Ambitious Dragon being called upon, and he quickly put pay to them in the Gold Cup. Ambitious Dragon raced away from Pure Champion. Can California Memory pegging back. Extension's trying hard, but Ambitious Dragon going boldly, and he's got the double all wrapped up. Ambitious Dragon beats Extension and California Memory.
Ambitious Dragon, you had to really sit and wait, and when you pressed the button, you had to be sure that there was clear running, because the way that he quickened, I mean, he used to sink 2 inches lower, because his stride would lengthen, and you would have to anticipate that, because if you didn't, you'd almost get that kickback, like you're going to fall back in the saddle. So the only way I can truly describe a feeling like that is when you put your foot flat down and that car kicks in and you feel that pull, and then you just have to steer it and hope, well, not hope, just steer in the right direction. And it's a phenomenal feeling. I think every jockey lives for. It's probably like a golfer hitting that sweet spot and, you know, finding the pin. It's what keeps you going back, and it's what we all wake up for.
So your advice for anyone, doesn't even have to be a jockey, any walk of life, if they want to be the best of the best, persistence will take you so far, and talent is obviously important, but there's a scrap heap full of talented people. What's the winning formula of a champion's mindset?
There's no shortcuts. The harder you work, the luckier you get. Ivan Allen taught me that a long time ago, and there's no shortcuts in life. So if you want to take shortcuts, and you better think again about being a champion, because it's all about time, effort, and dedication. You know, there's it's a long, tough road and a dedicated road to be a champion. And you know, when I see the likes of the Roger Federers and those guys going around and just maintaining that form, you've got to believe what the work they do behind the scenes. Not many people appreciate it. You know, to watch him is just graceful. He's poetry in motion. But what those guys do behind the scenes, and likewise what I did for 13 years, and what any champion would do, it's hard work. So there's no shortcuts.